Oh, happy Monday, friends. Trust everybody's doing well today. Things were happening toward the end of last week. Movement has been made on this project that I'm currently working on. So let's talk about what I did, why I did it, some of the design decisions that came about of designing and then prototyping, and how that all kind of shifted the idea a little bit. So let's start with the concept of this piece. This is that beautiful slab of English walnut that I had sitting over there for quite a time, and I processed this all, and the rest of the components are under those blankets. Like, it's just a lovely kind of chocolatey brown material, and it's got some really nice figure. You can see how much figure, that's the sapwood, how much figure is in this piece. It's going to be lovely. And the concept of this piece is basically, I want to juxtapose kind of high craftsmanship, high material with kind of the rushed nature of making objects for a living and making content, because rarely do you have time to explore kind of the finer things or really spend time with a piece. So that's what I'm going for. That's where the idea for these houndstooth dovetails came about, is kind of to show the juxtaposition of, you know, high level craftsmanship, the stuff that really takes a lot of time, and contrast that somehow with something on the interior that says, like, this was rushed. And I have an idea on how I'm going to do that. I'll get into that momentarily. But this was the initial layout, because this cabinet is going to have a Cooper door. And so I initially wanted to have the hound's teeth kind of mirror that curve a bit. And that would have looked really cool, except that these flats in here are around a 1/16 of an inch. Not very much, a little bit more than a 1/16. But the smallest chisel I have is an 1/8. So I spent a little time doing that, seeing if it's a thing I could get done. I made a chisel out of an old paint can opener. And does it work? Yes. Is it ideal? No. Could I probably do it in one if I really wanted to take the time to get it right? Yeah. But is that going to be, like, it risks sloppy craftsmanship. You can see how much, trouble I'm having kind of clearing out that material. So I decided that wasn't a necessary component of the piece. Ultimately, what was important is just kind of articulating or giving a visual representation of something that takes a lot of time and care. And not just time in actually creating the piece, but time in developing the skill to create the piece. So I came up with this rhythm for these houndstooth dovetails, and it looks quite lovely. I think that works really, really nicely. Coffee's ready. So that then transitions us into working on the actual piece. And I've got these components here, all of the grain selection, the meticulous grain selection to try to get as straight a line as possible. Similarly, on the bottom and top, very straight lines, but a small curvature on there, especially on the inside where you'll see it, because this is going to have a curve to it on the front to match the Coopered door. But then it was just a process of cutting these nice and slowly, taking my time. The things that take time are, like, for example, I could use a marking knife in the main tails, but then in the hound's teeth, they're too small to get a traditional knife in there. And even if I have the thing I use most of the time, I have to be able to tilt the blade at 5 to 10 degrees. And I couldn't do that in here. So I needed to create a knife that was a flat bevel on two sides. And so I ended up using a ruler and creating, I don't know if that's gonna focus up on there. Of course not, because it's gonna focus on my face. Let's see if we can do one of these. So created a ruler that has a bevel on two sides, flat on the back, bevel on those sides. And what that allows me to do is go straight in here, just like that, and mark it out. Now, this is the kind of thing, like, I feel like a good tell of whether or not I'm creating a unique piece is if I have to make a tool for it. Like, it's just one of those things that for me, when I really push myself in the craft, I tend to always come up against a situation where I just need to make a tool that helps me to do the thing that I want to do. It's not so standard that I have one already. So this is a good example. This is a good waste of, an hour or so, getting that to a point where it's really nice and sharp and I can drag a line on both of those faces. But it worked, and it allowed me to get the job done correctly. So that's where we're at. Let's slap one of these together so you can see what it's looking like, because it is pretty crispy, I'm not gonna lie. Now, again, this I think is a really lovely pattern, and while it's not the initial idea, I still think it works. This is one of those things where this is why I never really quite know where it's going until I actually start doing the thing, because this is a pattern I came up with on the fly as opposed to the pattern I developed in CAD. So that feels good, it looks good. I really like the lines in the figure in this piece. I think it's going to be really quite lovely. But from a technique perspective, what you might have noticed, somebody's really burning some donuts out there at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning, so I'm worried about them emotionally. What you may have noticed is a pretty severe rabbit on the back of these pieces. And you might say, that seems ridiculous, like it's unnecessary to put that large a rabbit on the back, and it is. You might even say it weakens the piece a little bit, which you might be able to make an argument for. You certainly are giving it a break point there. However, there's two reasons I did that. Number one, working with so fine a tail as I am in the hound's teeth, I mean, those tails come out to nothing. There's maybe a hair there, but they're essentially fading out to fibers. So having a 5/8 thick tail to work with in that case just gives you more space to potentially damage that pin as you're shaving it down. So that's one reason, but the bigger reason is because as I'm working on this, I'm using my handy dandy trim router to remove the bulk of the waste for the tails. This is a technique I developed, and it works it's really fast for half blinds. For throughs, it's not necessary, I don't think, but for half blinds, it is brilliant. So essentially I put a backer block on there that's at the same height as my board, and then I can come in and just route. But the 1/8 inch bit that I have in here is only a 1/2 inch cutter. So that's another big reason. It's just a pure mechanical reason of making life easier as I'm cutting these tails. So, you know, there it is. It is what it is. There's no harm, no foul. There's plenty of meat and glue surface in there that is not going to weaken the joint. And also, remember, this is a tiny little cabinet, right? Like, this thing is going to be bomb-proof, regardless of, even if I had kind of 1/4 inch tails on there, that's more than enough mechanical advantage and glue surface to get a proper joint. So that's where things are at. I am going to go ahead and move on to doing the pins for the top and get those done by lunchtime or so. Shouldn't take me too long now that I'm in the flow and kind of figured out the best workflow for it. And then we're gonna get to no, we're not gonna Cooper a door yet. I've got to put shelves in here. There's gonna be a little drawer. It's gonna be a delightful object. But that's where that's at. Now, in other news, this Wood River plane, which I refurbed and got it, you know, kind of singing pretty sweetly in the last video, 2 videos, whenever it was, one of the videos. Let's be real, I have no need for it. I've got 3 number 5s under here, and I got at least another 1 in there, if not another 2, because I have a problem. So I think this is going to be a tool, like I said in that video, that I'm happy to give away to folks. So if this is a thing you want, I think I'll just, you know, I'll give you guys whatever it is, let's say 48 hours to comment below that you want it, and then I'll just do kind of a raffle style. I'll pull a number out of a hat, and I'll box it up and I'll send it to you guys at no cost. The only thing that I would maybe suggest is replacing the blade, and it seems like you can get a Hawk blade for maybe about 50 bucks, so it might be worth that. But it is cutting, it's cutting very sweetly. I haven't used it since I made that video, and you saw how well it was working in that video. So if that's something you want to add to your collection, I'm happy to do that. Just leave a comment below saying that you want the Wood River plane, or Yeah, there's no reason. This is a small community of people who are all awesome. There's no reason to like make weird words out of it. So just say, hey, I want that Wood River plane, and then we can go from there. So that's it. I'm gonna get busy on this, and we can talk about the techniques of the houndstooth dovetails. Hopefully this weekend I'm gonna put out that video. And kind of try out that new narration style, like I said, see if I can make it work in an interesting way. I need to get this piece done in the next couple of weeks. And then after I do a teaching stint up at CFC, I'm gonna dive into that sexy veneer. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys would have seen the veneer that I purchased for that dry bar piece I've been talking about doing. I'm gonna dive into that, full bore in early June. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. But for now, friends, I trust you're having a good Monday. I trust you get in the shop at some point this week and go make a thing. And I will let you guys know about the next live situation for my 25 tier and up patrons, which I think will probably be later this week, but I'll keep you guys in the know about that. And until then, friends, be good making decisions as always. Cheers.